And still no action on the heads-up table. Very sad. I do love when players sit down and play heads-up on full ring tables. It is, traditionally, like, the fishiest players do that. Since it seems like no full ring regular will play shorthanded at all. Now, that being said, there are players who will do that and will start tables, but for the most part, most full ring nits are not inclined to decide to sit down. And I'm berating my own kind right now since I am a full ring player. Top 2 pair is pretty cool on table 4. Especially, it's really cool when there's a 56-15. So this 19-7 starts tanking, and I'm like, crap, if he donks into me, I really am not going to know what to do, because I think he's got a flush draw or some combo draw a lot when he does it. But at the same time, if I raise him, like, I push out the fish who's going to, like, call off with top pair. So when he doesn't bet, I was like, thank God. Table 6, I'm not actually wild about this. Isolating 2 huge fish with 5-6 suited just seems pretty bad. These types of players I'll want to be targeting with much more Broadway cards. If I had Jack Queen here, I would be much happier with my ISO. Because what I want to be doing is flopping top pair, not playing these kind of quote-unquote trickier hands. Because these are the kind of players who will just play anything, try to flop a top pair, and then when they have top pair, they're not going anywhere. So, ideally, the way I want to beat them is by out-kickering them. On table 4, I get called by the pretty large fish. Turn, I'm not overly wild about, but at the same time, like, I'm certainly not folding. And the thing is, like, here, I think that if he shoves on the river, I'm folding. And the reason I say that is because he's seemed to have shown no aggression, unprovoked. So if he decides to donk into me on the turn and then shove into me on the river, I feel like he's going to show me a flush basically every single time. Or like something like a set of 7s or something like that, that he now has decided is adequate to protect. So if he were to shove, I think I'm just folding. Which I know it's pretty gross. You're like, you have top 2 pair against a massive fish. Like, how are you going to fold? I think I've got to. Just because he's that kind of passive fish who just doesn't bluff. I do get called on table 6. And this is pretty good board, so I decided to just go ahead and bet. Hopefully force the person out. Man, what an interesting spot this was. And I tanked for a bit on table 4, but this on the river when he checks to me, it's really close to a check back in my opinion. I just think like he's really not calling worse hands, and like when he donks, I think his range is a lot of like drawish type hands, maybe like ace queen with the ace of clubs or something like that, or he's got something like a small flush himself and like isn't sure if he's comfortable betting it. So shoving here, like I'm not even sure I really like it. Like I think like it's so close though. Like I don't think it's necessarily that bad, but I think in retrospect, I think it's probably just going to be a spot where I want to check back, just because I think this player is the kind of player who isn't going to call with something like like ace queen, but will call with a baby flush in this spot. So shoving seems like it's probably not that bad in a vacuum against a huge fish who calls a lot, but it really doesn't feel. At the time, it felt really icky, but I didn't. I was like, well, and basically my thought by the end of that was like, oh, he's a 56-15. If you don't shove here, you're huge nit. Which there might be some validity to that.